Hi, hey, it's Sexy J, quick and dirty time. As I promised, this is a deep dive, even though it's a quick and dirty, into the historical passage, which a lot of people think is the most difficult passage. You guys will see it's actually not, because you will know everything about how to do the passage, what kind of arguments come up in this video. So we're going to cover around 200 years plus of history in this video, because these passages are very difficult in terms of the language. They're from 1700s, 1800s. They talk about political philosophy. So I don't want you guys to be sitting there trying to figure everything out on your own. I want you to just be like, oh, I saw this on a video from Sexy J. I know how the argument goes. So let's start from the very, very beginning, which is the Enlightenment Period. So I'm only going to give you guys the key words that you guys need to know. The background, the Enlightenment Period, this idea comes from a guy named John Locke. Okay, so if you remember that guy, that's great. If you don't, here's the rundown. Okay, everybody has natural rights. These are God-given. Can I mention God in the SAT? Yes, if it's about this topic, that human beings have rights. It's given by God, the Creator. Even if it's a Native American passage, they'll say the Great Spirit Chief. So everybody has God-given rights. So people cannot take these away nor give them. These are just everybody has them. So what is the purpose of the government? To protect these natural rights. That's literally the number one purpose. It's pretty much the only purpose for government to exist according to these passages. So what happens if the government fails? Or even worse, what if the government violates these rights? Then the people have a right to rebel. Okay? So this idea, which is not going to come up directly on the SAT, they don't go as far back as the Enlightenment, but it's going to be repeated over and over again in the basis of the historical passages are arguments, a call to action, persuasion, motivation into we have to change things. Why do we have to change things? The vast majority of the time, the natural rights of certain people are being threatened. Therefore, we have to change things, we have to act. So how is this going to come up? Number one, so this is going to come up in the same format, really, for all of these groups of people, or any other group of people, really, that is being oppressed. Okay? So I'm writing a bunch of people here. So we have women, we have Native American, we have Black Americans, and we have the colonized, which could overlap, I suppose. Okay. So it's going to be the same thing for all of these things. It's going to be, right now, women's natural rights are being violated, therefore, we have to do better. Or Native American rights, or Black people rights, or the rights of the colonized, okay? So the details and the nuance we'll do in a separate video, but that is the overall tool, okay? So there are two directions we could go with this. One, if I'm speaking to the powerful people, I'm going to be challenging them. Like, you guys need to do better. The government needs to do better and stop treating people terribly. You guys would just all talk, now actually let's get some action. Or if I'm talking to my fellow whatever group. So if I'm talking to the powerful people, I'm challenging them. I'm like, you guys need to do better. You guys need to actually get your act right. But if I'm talking to my fellow women, fellow Native Americans, fellow Black Americans, or the fellow colonized people, it's going to be, let's do this. It's going to be like a classic, like, hype up speech. Let's do this. We can make things better, guys. It's going to be optimistic. We can get this done. Okay. So I said I will go through around 200 years of history. Why is that? Because how does this lead into this? Oh, I should have given you this first. Obviously, this is the background for the American Revolution. So if I have American Revolution passage, why should the Americans, or I guess the colonists at the time, why should they rebel? Because the whole no taxation without representation thing, or just remember, they felt their rights were being violated by the British government, so they had to rebel, okay? And then women's rights, this starts at around the late 1700s, goes up to the 1940s-ish. It's women right now are not being treated very well. Therefore, we need to change things because women have natural rights. They are human beings. Same thing for Native Americans, same thing for Black Americans, and same thing for the colonized. This one would be the most recent. Okay, so this can come up to all the way until like 1960s-ish. So you do want to be familiar with specific topics, such as South Africa, and anti-colonialism topics. You say, oh, Jay, aren't you just adding more topics now? Isn't this getting a little bit too much? No, because it's just a specific label. South Africa, anti-colonialism is the same exact thing. Human beings have natural rights. You guys are violating them, so we got to fight to change it. Okay. So this is the vast majority of the historical passages that people have natural rights. We got to protect them. I know it gets really repetitive, right? But that's why you have to remember it, because these passages are very difficult in terms of the language. So, final words. If I have a historical passage, and also if it is a single passage Double passages are a different matter. I'll do that in another video. If it's a single passage, they have to say things that are politically acceptable, politically correct. So what is it going to be? We are going to support natural rights. We're never going to get an author that says human beings don't have rights. That is not a thing that the SAT does, okay? So from around, I would say, the 1740s, which is a pre-American Revolution period, which is the colonists' natural rights are being violated, so we got to rebel. All the way up to the 1960s, South Africa, apartheid, the South Africans' human rights are being violated, so we got to rebel or we got to change things. It's the same thing throughout for 200 years. And that's the historical passage, guys. Stay tuned for more quick and dirty videos, more specifically on other types of passages, right? And study every day with Sexy J, the best way. You guys already know. Bye-bye.